To get your notification that I'm live. We're going to get some fun little music going. Anyway, welcome. If you are a veteran here on my page, then you know what all this jazz is about. And if you are not and you just happen to join, then welcome. Since I just put lotion on my hands and now I can't use my mouse. But hey, check it out. I updated my little thing with a pumpkin. Of course I did. Anyway, welcome. So my name is Amy Thane Jorgensen, and I am just excited to always come on live on Mondays and share some uplifting thing with you. And I like it to be really purposeful and something you can use right in the moment. I'm also the founder of the Soul Centered Academy, where I have courses. So if you love what you see or this stuff is really resonating with you, you can reach out to me and I'll let you know about some other cool things that I have. The best place to catch me is actually on my YouTube channel. I have another platform called Honest Sassy Mama, but that's the best place to find me simply because YouTube lets you know every time I upload a new video or go live, so you don't have to worry about trying to catch it. I love if you say hi, hello, welcome. I don't know where you guys are from, but I love it too if you tell me. I am in Utah, right at the north part of the state, right on the border of Idaho. And right now it is just absolutely stunning outside. It's like 88 degrees, beautiful weather. Hi, hello, welcome. Okay, so I like to get things off and rolling. I love to share things with you that I find on Etsy. It's my favorite place to be. So I'm going to show you this cool sign. And also some of you in the past have asked, what am I always fidgeting with? So it's this little guy. This is something I got like, I don't know, Baltimore, Maryland. Am I saying your name right? Is your name Lee? Welcome. This is why I can never be a teacher. I like freak myself out when I read people's names. So then I get like all. Okay. So this is a little fidgety thing that I got for my kid and then I like stole it. So this is what I'm always playing with for you guys that like do sessions with me or you ask me what I have going on. Leah. There we go. Don't take that offensive. I can barely say my own name and it's, pretty simple. Okay. So we're first going to do an Etsy shop shout out. Then I'm going to tell you about becoming self-aware. And I like to take it to a level that's really understandable, but like I said, something you can use right away. So check out this freaking cute sign. So this is from an Etsy shop. If you guys don't know what Etsy is, it's this really cool place, right, where people make things. Usually they're all homemade, handmade. I don't like homemade, handmade. If you see back there, I've shown these before. They're kind of hard to see this far away. They're super cool, amazing jars that I have that a lady makes, and then she coats them with some poly coating stuff, and they're just absolutely gorgeous. And they have like little gems in them. And I laugh, but I'm not laughing. They're my jars for when I die. So if you're one of my friends, then you can go in. But check this out. Okay, so this is from a shop called Looking Glass Memory. So I know it's backwards for you, but it's super awesome because I love 3D stuff. So see how it's 3D'd out? And it's like got engraved into the wood. So it's super cool. Of course, you can customize it for the boo in your life. Quite actually, I've never had a boo before until now. So that's kind of exciting because as much as I love and resonate with Halloween and pumpkins, you think this would be like the call sign of my life, but apparently it was being saved for someone special. But I don't care about my subscriptions expiring. Okay. Anyway, you get to pick the color of the flower too. And he told me his favorite color was red. So there we go. That's what you get. Anyways, that's Looking Glass Memory on Etsy. Super cute. I think they have other ones you can do, but since I love pumpkins, I went with the boo. All right. Okay. Let's talk. So I'm actually going to read this to you. I wrote it earlier, but it's too good for me to sort of try to circumnavigate it into some smaller tidbits. So I'm just going to read it to you. So we are talking about becoming self-aware. Really important because honestly, a lot of times people get so focused on like what they need to fix. And sometimes just becoming aware of your space and aware that you're doing something is enough to really make that shift for you. So sometimes when I'm talking to clients or I'm working with a person, simply, hello, Amber, simply pointing out something to them. Like, guys know I'm really big on like the words that you use to bring yourself into the space. And I love to use this. Example. When I was first getting into this line of work and I wanted to become a practitioner, I caught myself being like, well, because you had to do so many client sessions before you could be certified. And so you get into this space where you think to yourself, I'll be a successful practitioner when, I'll be a successful coach when, and then you give yourself this like number or this date or this whatever. And the problem is that until you get to that space, you in your subconscious mind don't recognize yourself as a positive, successful person. So if I say to myself, I'll be successful when I make X amount of money, until I make it to that space, I don't consider myself to be successful. What's really hard about that is if you don't think you're successful, you're not succeeding. So you're not really progressing because you've told yourself that you won't be successful until you get to this space. So until you're at that space, see how that works? That's the magic of the mind. So we're really careful about words that we say and bring it into the now space. I never talk about something that I'm doing, that I'm working on as a future event. I talk about it as now, and actually resonating with yourself. Go even a step further. Think about all the emotions that you would feel if you were actually doing that thing that you are striving for. So if it's a job, sit yourself in that space and take a nice deep cleansing breath and think about what you would feel emotion wise. And I'm even going to go back, not what you are feeling emotionally when you hear that phrase pop into your head of, we would like to award you this position with our company. Resonate, let it sit, feel all the feels, because the more you bring that into your space and the more realistic it becomes for you, the universe, higher level consciousness, divine source, God, whatever that is for you, it's the laws of universal energy. It aligns and comes into your space. It's so cool. So I'm going to read this to you. Okay, here we go. So we're talking about being self-aware. When you understand yourself, it empowers you to create. You create relationships and possibilities that are honoring and authentic. You stop judging yourself. This is so important. You stop judging yourself, and in turn, you stop judging others. This is something I learned a long time ago. When I stopped judging myself, I actually stopped judging other people. Well, judging other people is a form of negative energy, right? And it brings karma into our space. So we don't want to be judging other people. So stop judging ourselves, because that's what creates us to judge others. If you don't have that platform to judge off of, what are you judging them for? Okay. So continuing on, this is completely empowering. You are bringing so much back to your own space instead of spending your energy on things that don't offer a positive return. Honestly, there is so much deliciousness in that paragraph in and of itself within so many places, because I'm going to point out a couple of things there. I love to do things in threes. So the first one is you can't create. Okay. When you are not being self-aware in your space and being authentic, you don't create. So the first thing I'm going to work on when I'm with a business owner is like, hey, we got to clear out some of this stuff. Because when your little noggin's going 100 miles an hour and your noodles are flying all over the place, you cannot create anything. I had a business a long time ago where I did not have support from my spouse, and it was absolutely horrible. I woke up every day fighting this battle. In fact, one of my coaches from back in that space is one of my friends on Facebook, and I just saw her make a post and it like brought all that back. And I was like, man, if I would have had the support that I needed back then, like possibilities would have been endless. But when you get mashed into this place where you're like, if you're a business owner, one of the worst things you can do is worry about finances. It will absolutely crumble your business because you are so focused on not having any money that you will ensure that you continue to not have any money. And so you will not create, because that's how you get yourself in that space of not progressing, right? And so it's really difficult because cognitively you're freaking out that you don't have any money to make your business run, but subconsciously you need to not have that there because it's chaining you down. And you're basically affirming with your cognitive mind or your subconscious that like, hey, there's no money here. So therefore I need you to align with the process that I have thought going on, that there's no money here. And I need you to act accordingly to keep this happening for myself. And so you will not create and you will not move forward with your business. It's something that takes a little bit of time to master. But once again, we're coming back to the topic, right? Being self-aware. When you're self-aware in that space and you know that you're doing it, you can stop yourself. Okay. So the key to happiness, understanding yourself, loving your authentic self. We hear people talk about shadow work. We hear people talk about inner child work. We hear people talk about doing processes and methodologies of energy like I do with my ELV program, which is Elevate Life Vibration, where we release things. We release and clear things from your head that are all this stuff crammed in there from when you were kids. So toxic phrases, negative core beliefs, negative energies from things. Like I find all kinds of stuff when I do negative energies, like negative energies from conflicts between your parents that you absorb, negative energies from places where you've been belittled, negative energy from a moment in time where someone took something away from you that had a lot of value, all kinds of stuff. So we clear all these away so that we can get back to our authentic self. And you may say, what the heck is my authentic self? I don't even know. I always tell you, like, resonate back to a moment in time where you just remember. And I know for some of you, this takes a lot. And I know some of you didn't have the best or greatest of childhoods. Hello, I struggled in that space too. But certainly there was a moment of time. Like if I think back to my childhood, one of my most beautiful experiences is going to be around horses, because I can see it so clearly. I remember being out, my parents had this house with some acreage, and behind my parents' acreage was a pasture. And I can clearly see this mare, and she loved to lay in the grass. And I was around her enough that she would let me walk into the pasture and lay down in the grass next to her. And I had no fear. Horses are my thing, and I just don't fear them at all. So I would lay right next to her. And I mean, this beautiful moment. So that's what I'm talking about. That's pure joy, right? That's pure happiness for so many reasons. I'm grounded with the earth. I'm grounded with my soul. I'm grounded with the horse. I'm feeling all the emotions of an animal that are so pure and divine. It's just, you're soaking it all in. It's pure happiness for me. No one's in my space. I'm not worried about my schoolwork. I'm not worried about my mom or my dad or my siblings or whatever. And so that's what I'm talking about. Take yourself back to a space like that, because that's how you heal your inner child. And then as adults, honestly, it's really pretty simple. Your goal is to get back into that space. So you can see, right? I was a carefree, bubbly burst of energy at some point before I started getting all of this crazy thing. Now, I tell you this not because I want any sympathy from anyone about, oh, woe is me, because I'm not in the victim space. I tell you things because I want you to know that I understand where you're coming from. So, I'll consider myself to be an incredibly late bloomer in life. So I went through school. I mean, in the third grade, I was blossoming already. Like seriously, I remember having to wear a bra when I was in the third grade and being picked on. I remember the girls pulling on my bra straps, making fun of me. I remember just being called fat constantly, being told that I was ugly. In middle school, there was this boy that I had this biggest crush on, and he knew it. And at one time, I had left the classroom to go out to do something. And so class was in session. Man, like the light shining off of my kid's truck is like blinding me through my window. If you want, because I keep moving around because it's annoying. Anyway, so I remember being out in the hallway and he was out there at the same time, right? So I'm like, oh, because I'm so like excited that he's in the hallway. And guess what he did? He barked at me. He barked at me, and he started barking like a dog, and he told me to go bark up a tree. And I was devastated. I remember going back to the classroom and just telling my friends, like, right? I mean, talk about being kicked to your knees. And so all of those things like piling up, right? It wears away on you. And so you believe what you hear, you believe it. And I remember just thinking, by the time I was in high school, I was like, I was aligned, right? I was aligned with everything I heard. I don't even like to say this out loud. So I'm going to clear that space, but it's not sticking here. But, I was telling myself I was fat, I was ugly. Nobody wanted to date me, whatever. And then, these become my beliefs. And so they just get bigger and bigger. And then before you know it, I believe everything that I'm telling myself. And then right is the problem is even when you get into a space where maybe you are a late bloomer, or, you know, that was all just kids being jerks, it doesn't just go away, right? You can't just snap your fingers and suddenly you're like, oh, yes, I believe that because someone told me that I'm pretty, or I believe that because I now take my health very seriously and I work out all the time, that, you know, I'm not fat anymore. Because guess what? It's something that you really have to fight, right? Like when I got into the space where I was exercising a lot, um, you know, and I don't care, I'll tell you. So after my daughter was born in October of 2017, she ended up passing away, right? 26 days after she was born. So guess what? You know, I'm like a hot mess and I can't lose any weight to save my life because I'm so stressed out. And so, I mean, I think I weighed like 215 pounds when she was born. And I'm pretty sure I weighed probably 220 pounds when I left the hospital. And I wasn't even eating. My body was just so messed up. Like I was retaining everything. And looking back on it now, I actually can tell you like that was my safety. My body wasn't allowing that to go because I was losing my baby. So I was holding on to everything that I could from her. But then fast forward, and, you know, don't beat yourself up, guys, because it took me until 3 years ago when I hopped on the keto train, right? And then I started working out and whatever. But I was bigger at one point. So when you're bigger at one point and then you get smaller again, you have things like you have excess, that didn't come out right. You have extra skin and things like that. And I've been pregnant, you know, like 14 times or something, and I have 4 live kids. So that's a lot for your body to go through. And I used to, when I'm working out, looking at myself being like, I can't change anything else unless I go have surgery. And I was like, no, like align with yourself. Instead of looking at yourself in the mirror and beating yourself up over what you're seeing, like your extra skin by your belly, whatever, you look at that and you think to yourself, man, that's a miracle right there. That is, I am alive.
Can you tell, can my friend Riker play?
Here?
Yes, and can you tell us when he has to leave?
I sure can.
No,
Okay.
because we're going back to the church.
Oh.
So my mom doesn't get worried.
Okay. Hi. Nice to meet you. Love you. Okay. I have no idea what I was talking about. Anyways, resonating back to your face. Oh, yes. The miracles, the little miracles, right, that are running around. Those are little miracles. So look at your body. Look at those places where you're so upset. Stretch marks, you guys. Hello. Those are miracles. Your body has grown. Like it has a beautiful ability to become, you know, from a little child to an adult where you can have these great experiences, have children, whatever that is. So just change your perspective a little bit because you're becoming aware. Okay. So getting back to that space of when you are happy as an inner child is how you find your authenticity. So I giggle a lot. I laugh a lot. I'm a crazy person all the time. And there are some people that are like, maybe you're too old to be doing that. And I will come back and say, maybe not, right? Because it keeps me young. It keeps me vibrant. That's where I get my joy from, is I enjoy all those little things that I did when I was a kiddo, because I've cleared away all the garbage that people piled on me when I was growing up and all those icky words. So it's like this space where you find this innocent joy again. And it's very, very enlightening and allows you, yes, tiger stripes, and allows you in the moment as an adult to just break free of boundaries that have been set for you and literally become anything you want to be. Here's the other thing. I love this. So when you become aware of your own makeup, your characteristics, and you love who you are authentically and stop trying to change and be everything you think you should be, because we get programmed that when we act a certain way, we get rewarded. So we stop being ourselves, because when we do this the way our mom wants to do it, and we do this the way our teacher wants to do this, even when we do this the way our friends want to do it, we get rewarded. And so we stop being ourselves. When we become aware of this, you become really conscious about who you are and you stop fighting it. And then guess what you do for yourself? Are you ready for this? Big word. You appreciate who you are. I love that. Like, you appreciate who you are. And when you appreciate who you are, you can harness the influence that you have on other people. So let's talk about relationships with others and how this falls into place. So I'm going to dive into human design a little bit, because you know that's where one of my passions is. So I want you to think about yourself as an energy source. Okay, this is not news, right? We have chakras. There are awesome little energy systems in our body that are moving like wheels. They're just like organs, only on our spiritual plane. And we have all these meridians, and we call them channels and gates in human design, where we can actually see your kind of genetic makeup, your planetary makeup, how everything is affecting you. And so the cool part about this is when you learn about your human design, there's going to be certain places, like, let's say, for example, that I have a very, I don't know, I can't even think of what I'm saying. Anyways, active. There we go. My throat chakra is active. Anyone that knows me would be like, yes, that would be a absolute statement. That is true. So my throat chakra is active. That means that I can speak my voice. I can say how I'm feeling. People have told me before, you are so black and white. There is no like gray area, right? If I have an issue, I'm just going to tell you what it is. There is no need to guess. And I love that from other people. Unfortunately, other people don't necessarily have a throat chakra that is active. And so is what happens is they don't really have the ability to speak or say that. So let's say that I'm running around and I have it in my head that it should just be easy for everybody to talk. Everybody should just say it how it is, black and white. I can get really frustrated, right, with people that can't voice their opinion. When I understand my channels and my gates and how my energy is flowing, I understand that there are people who do not have one of their channels in this area defined or active. Okay. And so I know, as a person with a defined throat center, guess what I do? I electromagnetically attract a person that doesn't have one, because guess what? I become the speaker, right? So let's say that somebody wants to voice their opinion, and maybe we're in a big room with lots of people and they have an idea. Let's say, it's an idea for a company. They have this idea and it's so good. But instead of standing up in front of the room and saying, this is my idea, yada, 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 is what happens is they have a draw towards me and they tell me their idea, because then what do? Right? The person with the voice brings the idea to the table for the rest of the room. That's how our energy works, and that's how we overlap. So our relationships with others are built off of these spaces. Like if you have a really dominant willpower, another person that has a really hard time sticking with stuff, guess what they need? They need that person to go with them to the gym every day, right? Because they're pulling off of that person's willpower in order to go to the gym and stick with their goals. That's why lots of you are like, oh, if I'm going to go on a diet, I have to have a partner. Because if I do it by myself, I won't be able to do it. But then you kind of beat yourself up because you're like, why can't I do this all on my own? And you're not wrong. No, you're actually understanding who you are. And the problem is that we teach ourselves that if we aren't on this exact line, this exact playing field, and we aren't all doing it the same, then something is wrong with us. And so that's why I love the work that I do, is because when you come to me, I show you who you are. And then I say, okay, let's stop beating ourselves up because we are having issues sleeping at night. Let me show you why you're having issues sleeping at night. Because some of you wake up every morning and you have this specific amount of energy in your tank every day, and you have to spend it. And if you don't, you will lay in bed at night and you will not be able to fall asleep. Whereas others of you, you need to not get into bed until you're completely exhausted. It's just the way that that would be the same person, actually. There's let me rephrase that. So the person that needs to expend their energy every day needs to go to bed exhausted. Then there are the other ones of you that need to go to bed before you're tired. So you're the type of people that should go to bed 30 minutes before you're actually tired. You should read a book. You should do the movie. You should do whatever. Get yourself into that space, where the rest of you need to be running around like literally until you're like, I got to go to bed. I'm exhausted. And if you fight that, what do you think happens, like with your kids, right? Forcing your kids into bed before the kid, let's take the scenario of the kid with the specific amount of energy in their system. What do you think happens when you force that kid to take a nap or force that kid to go to sleep at night and they haven't expanded their energy for the day, right? They can't sleep. Then they can't sleep. Then they're up. Then they get up early in the morning. And then the cycle starts all over. And before you know it, guess what? We're all diagnosed with something when realistically, we're just not living our authentic design because we're trying so hard to fit people. If I was aware as a parent and knew like, hey, my kid needs this, then you've seen my kid running around, right? on my social media, like that kid has energy. Like he needs to burn off his energy during the day. He needs to go for bike rides. He needs to go for motorcycle rides. He needs to be running around like a banshee so he can burn that stuff off, jumping off the ceilings, literally, so he can fall asleep at night. So just understanding that. Now, when you know this and you know the spaces in your design chart where you connect with other people, it makes it really easy to get along with others. And it also makes it really easy for you to recognize your internal GPS system when it's saying, yeah, this energy isn't good for you. So you should turn and walk away. Or you don't even need to know a person because you're communicating with them on a different level, what I call in your auras or overlaying. You can feel them, right? You know, when you just walk up to someone and you're like, dang, this person feels good, right? Their energy is just radiating off of you and you feel like you've been plugged into a wall. And it's almost like this empowering, enlightening, just radiating energy. And then other people, like you walk up to them, literally you feel like you've been stabbed in the stomach, or on the other end, like, right, they're pulling out your cord and you're just like, I feel my energy draining from my body, because that's exactly what's happening. They're pulling your energy away from you, and or they're just not a good fit. So recognizing that, you know, like who you should be around because you're living your authentic self. Now here's the mess. When you aren't living your authentic self and another person isn't on living their authentic self, and you guys get into a relationship, right? There are things that are going to work out about it. But if you start growing and evolving, you can start pulling away because now you're not being the same people that you were being. And then we start beating ourselves up because we're like, ooh, I was married and my marriage didn't work. So there must be something wrong with them, or there must be something wrong with me. Or like in my case, you grow and evolve and the other person doesn't fit in your energy field anymore. And so, you know, you just you cut that cord and you move on. So it can really be really important. Like I see this maturity in myself is now. Before, when I would get in relationships, it would be almost out of like a desperate emotional thing because I wouldn't want to feel alone and I would want to feel someone loved me, right? Because I wasn't confident in myself. Whereas now in this space, it's like I'm confident in myself and I want to be with a person. I don't need to be with a person. Does that, you know what I'm saying there? So it's a very really interesting dynamic how you shift when you realize your own energy. And now I know like exactly the person that I need and exactly the person that I'm looking for because I understand myself on an authentic level. Plus, when I get into that space, right, I act exactly how I am. I don't pretend that I'm not in love with pumpkin land. I don't pretend that I'm not a goofy person. I don't pretend that I'm not a sass magnet. I don't hide who I am or anything that I'm doing, so that I know that when I, you know, get into that connection, it's true and authentic. So that's how design works. So I'm just gonna leave you with this, guys. It's super fascinating work. I'm always here to tell you as much as I can in the given moment when I do these, but I do want to invite you to take my human design course if you would like to. I have it right now for $67 and it's lifetime access. So you can sign up for it and watch it over and over again. And it's really amazing. If you've never taken a course from me before, the thing that I will tell you that is my greatest feedback from my clients or people that have been doing my work is that it's very easy to understand it, because I really like to take that really complicated, because human design, if you just look at it, it's very complicated. I like to take it and break it down for you so it's very meaningful, not just simple. I don't like to just say simple because some simple is boring to me, right? So it's very meaningful. It makes sense. It's meaningful. It's something you can use right away to influence yourself. So I am coming out and I'm launching 2 more courses. I'm going to launch Human Design Gates. So if you took my first one, you want to be on the lookout for that. And I'm going to do Human Design Channels. It's so amazing because human design in and of itself is kind of like this big soup that you are, the soup of your soul. And then we break it down bit by bit and we look at it and we look at like, what are you made out of? The broth or the base that you're made out of for your personality. And then, you know, we look at like the proteins and the vegetables, but we go down in intricate details of your personality with like herbs and spices. And it's absolutely amazing the amount of stuff that you can learn. I mean, I used to just spend so much time. I'll tell you what, I used to spend so much time worrying about what people thought of me. And you're amazing, girl. Everyone say hi to Mandy. She's seriously, I will say, one of the most beautiful, authentic people I have ever met in my life. Honestly, honestly. I don't want to get emotional, but you are, seriously. But you learn about yourself at that level and you just align and you stop fighting with who you are and you just feel centered and you feel peace, you feel gratitude, you feel grace for your life. And no matter what anything throws at you, you just, I like to say, bounce it off. Like things bounce off and you know where you should be, what decisions you should make, and you're just not a hot mess express anymore. And I know because I've been in both spaces. All right, you guys. So you can go to the Soul Centered Academy. I have my links at the top of this, but thank you for joining me, you guys. I'll see you, if not before, because you know I like to post, but I'll see you for sure next week at the same time for another Monday Soul Deliciousness. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your night.